Hello, my name is Tomasz Poszytek. In this video, I would like to talk about sequential approvals. In one of my latest videos where I was discussing, what was I discussing there? Oh, something about approvals. Oh yeah, approvals metadata. I mentioned that in Microsoft Teams, when you're creating an approval, there is this new functionality that allows you to create a sequential approval. Now, what is a sequential approval? Basically, that is the same approval as we had before, but in this version, it allows you to create like groups of approvers that are asked to sequentially approve. So like after the first group of approvers approved, then only the tasks are being assigned to the second group of approvers. Still, this is all being handled by one single action and one single wait. So if you are thinking about using that feature in Microsoft Power Automate, then you would still be limited to only 30 days, right? So the action that waits for the approval is going only to wait 30 days. Doesn't matter how many group of approvers you're gonna have. Now, the other thing is that you can have up to 10 groups of approvers, up to 10 levels of the sequential approval. And then each group only waits for the first approve or reject. So by default, it doesn't wait for all approvals. It only waits for the first approver that will either say yes or no. Now, if any approver within any of those groups is saying, answers no or reject, then the whole sequential approval is going to end as a rejected one. Okay? So I'll now do two things. I'll show you how this functionality works in Microsoft Teams, but then I'll show you how you can mimic this functionality in Power Automate despite the fact it's not actually present there. I mean, you can't achieve it through the interface, but you are able to work around it. All right, ready? Fasten your seatbelts and let's go. Okay, so being in Microsoft Teams, when you hit the new approval request and then basic request, you'll notice that there is this new toggle that asks or that reads that you require responses in the assigned order. So as you turn it on, you're going to be able to say, I want to get an approval from Tomasz and John, for example. And then in the second stage, I would like to ask Stefan for the approval. All right. There is as well the priority and some additional details and a title, of course. And after you define all this information, you're ready to go and hit send. Now, as the request is being sent, I'll switch to John Researchers environment. Yep, he has been assigned this task. So John sees now that there is a new approval request that it is now waiting for the response from either himself or myself, right? And then only after the step one is completed, it will navigate or it will move on to Stefan. Yeah. Okay. So John says, that's odd. Why is John unable? Who is that? Oh, because it's Stefan. Sorry, that was Stefan's account. So, so John is as well going to see that they have been assigned a task, and John is going to be able to provide comments. Now, the thing that you are observing here as well is called these universal actions that is present in adaptive cards, so that it displays a different layout per a person who is displaying the card, obviously, and gives different options. Okay, so John can now approve, and after his request is his task is approved, you can see that this task is now like completed. And so Stefan can now open the task. Wrong, sorry. Stefan can now open the task Where is the task? Gosh, let me just refresh what Stefan sees. Yeah, that's odd. That's odd. All right. I have no idea where it's really gone. So anyhow, now the approval is waiting for Stefan, and Stefan is already able to actually provide their comments. Sorry, it's like something is going on with the browser or my keyboard. No idea. Okay, so Stefan can approve, and by the fact that Stefan has approved, then the whole sequential approval is now completed, right? So it was waiting for the first response from each of the groups. So this approval is now completed, and that's cool. Although if you assign it and it's having a sequential approval type of the approval, then it's not going to be visible in approvals list of any of these approvers. So if I navigate to my approvals, I wouldn't see this sequential approval nowhere, like in none of my either history or received or even sent, because I sent it, right? So I can't even find this task in under the sent list of approvals. All right, so this is how it's built. Now let me jump for a second into the structure of it. So first, let's navigate to the approvals table that stores the basic information around this type of approvals. So as I navigate to all data, or even I don't need to navigate to all data, the first row is that sequential approval. Now, what you can see here is that it is using a new approval model type that is called the sequential approval model. And that is basically the most important thing here. Also, the second thing that it's actually using is the step number. Yes, it's the step number. So what you can see is the current step number as a column. And this column here literally controls on which approval stage is the approval in the sequential approvals. So if you update it to 1, even though it is on 0, then the person who is assigned a task in step number 1 or 2 in that case is going to be able to approve their task. That is ridiculously easy, but well, it works. The second thing is under the approval requests. So as I navigate to approval request table, there you will see that there are tasks assigned, and here actually nothing is different to what we are used to see for any other approval type. The only thing that differs is the step number. So that says, that defines in which approval step group this approval task should be visible and in which not. Again, very easy. If you change the step number to 2, it will create as a third group in this case. So again, funny or not funny. Now there is as well something more, because the approval model means that there is a new table. The new table that is dedicated for the sequential approvals. Yeah, I don't remember how it's called, so I just navigate to solutions and then into the approval solution. And then tables. So there is no dedicated table for the sequential approvals, or I haven't found it yet. So the point is that all data is being actually stored inside the basic approval model data for even the new type of approval, right? So you can find it here. So these are the requests that I have created, and they again are just the same. So I was thinking, if this is so easy, like if this approval is really something that we had, but it's just using the step number and a different model, then why it should be so different or complex to create the whole approval process on my own? And so I've made an attempt to build a flow that tries to create the sequential approval automatically. So not through the UI of Microsoft Teams, not through any other UI, just to do that directly through Dataverse actions. So I built a flow that asks for title description, stage 1 approvers, stage 2 approvers, and initiator. Why not? And then it actually creates the approval header. So it's creating a record inside the approval table. And then, well, obviously it needs to grant the access for the initiator. And then it creates approval requests for the stage 0 approvals, right? So it's getting information about the owner, then granting the owner access to the header record, so to the information, to the approval request, the approval record, and then it creates the approval request record in here. So to me, it all seemed quite easy, to be honest. So I was creating these approval requests. Then I as well created the record in a basic approval model data. And I have related these records. So this record in basic approval model data is then related with the record inside the step table. So there is a new table actually that is called action steps. The approval step. So that is something new. And this table actually defines how or on which step the specific approval is on. Right, so there you have the information about the approval model. There is as well that relationship to the table called where it is. The basic approval model data. So this is where this relationship actually is created and is being used. It's here. No, sorry, not in here. Here in step model, right? So the step model is using this relationship to the approval, basic approval model data. And then I thought, yeah, so I got it all. Like I checked all the tables that are in a solution. I checked what has been created and I tried to create everything in the same way, just using the Dataverse actions. And then I wanted to test it. So I hit test, where's any trigger? And I was just happy. As you see, I've made a couple of tests. So I was like, happy, yay! The workflow is running fine. There are no errors. Everything went smooth. Everything has been created. During my tests, I only limited to create only stage 0 approvals. And then I navigated to Microsoft Teams where I see that indeed my sequence test is present. And then I was like, yeah, now click it, open it, and bummer. And you know what? And I tried many times. I tried creating records in different order. I tried really like copying data from an existing record using the same settings, the same configuration. I tried everything. I thought I could, but I failed. I was failing every time. And honestly, I still have no idea why. So I thought, okay, I'm not able to create a valid approval, so maybe I'll use an action to create an approval, but then I'll modify it. And so I attempt the second attempt. Well, I tried the second attempt, where I decided to first create an approval. Let me just show you that. So again, to manually trigger the flow, get all the same information as in the previous one, but then to manually create an approval, and then to update header record to change the approval model type from the basic into the sequential approval model. And also for each assignee to update the approval request to actually update the step number, right? So to insert 0 for the step 0 or for the first step, or then insert 1 for the second step, and so on. So that was the idea. And finally, to as well create those records required inside the basic approval model data and the steps table. Cool, right? Oh, one more thing is that I have built my own JSON with approvals details. So that's the JSON that stores information about the assignees for step 0 and assignees for step 1. And this is actually the JSON that I'm iterating over in these two loops. And without a very much of confidence, I decided to trigger it. And as you can see, I made just one test. And to my huge surprise, like literally huge surprise, when all this information here, when all these steps here were actually completed successfully, I navigated to Microsoft Teams, because obviously here under the Power Automate approvals, you're not going to find these approval tasks, because due to a different model, it's not being displayed here. But as you navigate to Microsoft Teams, I saw my sequence test too. And as I said, without a real confidence, I was like, nah, it can't work. But then I clicked it, and whoa, it actually worked. And it seems that everything here is as it's supposed to be. Okay, so first I'll approve, and then I navigate to Stefan. Because right now Stefan can approve, right? And it worked. And even the status changed. And even source was set by myself. So all the metadata I was able to set is set. And then as I navigate back to my flow, I as well see that it's waiting for the approval is completed successfully. I see all the outcomes. I see information about the approvers. Like I see all the information that I was expecting to see, from the valid response, from the valid response in a valid response body in a valid approval process. Cool, right? So this way, and only this way so far, you are able to create a sequential approval in Power Automate, and to use all the features that are behind the sequential approvals. Now, the only thing that I really want you to remember, there are two things. The first one is that the sequential approvals that you're using through Microsoft Teams are obviously, free. They are covered by Microsoft Teams licenses or Power Automate license. The Office 365e licenses, or whichever license you have. However, to mimic their behavior inside Power Automate, you need to, as you can see, use Dataverse actions that will require you to have the per flow or per user license for Microsoft Power Automate. The second thing that I want you really to remember and learn by heart is that this action that waits for the approval is only going to wait 30 days. Like, no matter how many stages you're going to have and how many approvers are going to be assigned a task in each stage, you're just going to wait for the first for the for the 30 days. And after 30 days, it will be timed out and the whole flow is going to fail unless you handle that exception. All right. And well, with that, that's all for this video. I hope that you will find it very helpful and useful for all your automation and approval projects that you're going to build around Microsoft Power Automate. And as always, if you have any questions and would like to share your thoughts, would like to ask something, then write it in the comments below the video and subscribe to my channel and rate the video. And as always, until next time, thank you very much and bye-bye.